When boxing's four-belt era began in 2004, the sport crowned only 2 male undisputed world champions in its first 13 years of existence, signaling the extremely difficult nature of consolidating all of the major championship titles.
Undisputed junior welterweight.
But since Terence Crawford's crowning moment at light welterweight in 2017, boxing has seen no less than 10 undisputed moments in just 7 years.
And then the right, and he goes down again. But Crawford has created history. Unified world welterweight champion.
Be it the increasing demands of fight audiences, or fighters themselves recognizing the importance of a single distinct title holder, boxing is benefiting from a rise in elite combatants putting their championships and reputations on the line. One showdown, in particular, involves 2 of the most dominant forces of the light heavyweight division of the past 6 years.
Big exchange. He gets him again.
Both hail from Russia's deep conveyor belt of combat sport professionals, and both have forged a rivalry which many consider to be the best and most intriguing contest in the entire sport.
Been away with that jab.
The more eye-catching and ferocious of the two is the proud owner of the WBC, IBF and WBO world titles, with not a single one of his 20 victims lucky enough to make it to the final bell. He remains a terrifying assignment for anybody at 175 pounds, and one that can only be tamed by the exceptional talents of the last remaining world champion of the division.
Dmitry Bivol.
Possessing the only jewel missing from Artur Beterbiev's crown, this fleet-footed combination puncher also holds the only remedy in existence to prevent his countryman's complete dominance.
He is a boxer-puncher who is looking constantly to apply his skills aggressively and offensively.
His technically advanced abilities combined with a flawless fight IQ will help audiences discover the answer to one of the most intriguing debates in world boxing: of who truly is the undisputed champion of the light heavyweights. Welcome to the Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol Fight Countdown. The current positions of Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol do not serve as the only proof of the country's dominance over such a celebrated weight class. Before their ascension, the light heavyweight division was under the grip of another skilled and powerful Russian. His reign began from 2013 and ran right through to the summer of 2017, acquiring the WBO, WBA and IBF world titles.
The undefeated Andre Ward.
It eventually required the arrival of America's Andre Ward to dethrone him, by narrowly winning the first encounter on points and completing the subsequent rematch with a TKO to finally put an end to the Russian's elite status in the division.
It's been stopped!
No, wait a minute.
Ward, having completed a flawless legacy of his own, retired soon thereafter, and the World Championship belts were vacated to usher in a new dawn of light heavyweight hopefuls. Even the long-term occupant of the WBC title, Adonis Stevenson, failed to sustain his reign when he suffered a brutal loss at the hands of Alexander Gvozdyk.
Stevenson in big trouble! Gvozdyk a right hand! Stevenson is down!
Meanwhile, the WBO trinket found itself back in the hands of a fading Sergey Kovalev, to which his inconsistent form led to the title switching hands 4 times in less than 2 years, which then left the remaining WBA and IBF championship belts, the black and gold of which found itself in the possession of Dmitry Bivol, and the red and gold into the firm grip of Artur Beterbiev.
Right hand on the right hand, and down goes Johnson.
By the close of 2017, there stood 4 different world title holders of the division, with not a clear indicator of who truly was the number 1. But despite the slight ambiguity, there remained a strong consensus that the 2 clear leaders of the pack were the Russian duo of Beterbiev and Bivol, who were already sweeping away former champions and current contenders with both finesse and fury.
Oh, big left hook, rattles Dinas, and he hits the canvas.
Being the more dynamic and destructive force, Beterbiev has perhaps garnered greater intrigue out of the 2 champions. And with him currently holding the majority of the world titles, our story begins with him in the mountainous region of Dagestan, a republic which is claimed to yield a higher proportion of elite boxers, amateur wrestlers and MMA fighters than any other territory in the world. Perhaps unsurprisingly, given the region's notorious reputation for lawlessness and corruption, where violence, kidnappings and assassinations have reportedly thrived. Beterbiev, himself of Chechen descent, remained shielded from the perpetual war zones, but a pervasive and ominous threat always loomed over his upbringing. Such circumstances honed a set of brutal combat skills where the intervention of his older brother steered him away from street fighting to the more composed and educated enclosures of a boxing gym. Within 6 months, Beterbiev clinched his first local junior championship to set the stage for a remarkable amateur journey. Notable milestones included gold medals at both the 2006 and 2010 European Championships, as well as the 2008 World Cup and 2009 World Championships. His triumphs also included the scalps of notable professionals such as Michael Hunter, Ismail Silak, and even his fierce Russian compatriot, Sergei Kovalev. The most documented and popular of his encounters, however, came against the great Alexander Usyk in a 3-fight saga. The first meeting at light heavyweight took place in 2007 at Beterbiev's natural weight class, enabling him to score a points victory. But the latter 2 contests in 2011 and 2012 were staged at heavyweight, forcing the Russian to accept 2 closely contested defeats. A crunching body shot knockdown in one of them, however, demonstrated a frightening ability to carry his power up against bigger opponents. And whilst Beterbiev's raw fighting abilities were beginning to spark curiosity about his potential in the professional ranks, another impressive amateur journey was taking shape elsewhere. 4,000 kilometers east of Dagestan, over the Caspian Sea and through the rocky terrains of Eurasia, was born Dmitry Bivol in the former Russian Republic of Kyrgyzstan. And as early as 6 years of age, the young boy developed a passion for combat sports, more specifically boxing, due to the range of competitions and potential for winning medals. At age 11, he moved to St. Petersburg, where his formal education in the sport intensified further, winning back-to-back gold medals at the 2006 and 2007 World Cadet Championships. His progression into senior level saw further accolades at both national and international level, including gold at the 2012 and 2014 Russian Nationals, as well as the 2012 European Under-22 Championships and 2013 World Combat Games. Although his amateur career didn't feature the same level of intensity or high-profile opponents as Artur Beterbiev, it did help create a remarkably nimble and skilled prospect with impressive mid to long-range boxing abilities. And the very few spectators who were privileged enough to witness Dmitry Bivol's rise were amongst the first to be exposed to a unique adaptation of the famed Soviet style of fighting. Both Bivol and Beterbiev turned to the paid ranks between 2013 and 2014, experiencing nearly identical ascents in the light heavyweight division. Their extensive amateur backgrounds facilitated a far quicker progression compared to other newcomers to the professional circuit. And by November of 2017, the two hotshots held an undefeated 11-fight record, with Bivol sweeping away 9 of his opponents by knockout, and Beterbiev himself maintaining a ruthless 100% stoppage streak. At this moment in time, a new light heavyweight landscape was taking form as fresh contenders and title holders were beginning to emerge. But despite this brief period of uncertainty, most observers still recognize the future of the division would be determined by these two standout forces in particular.
It's an absolutely jolting left hand from Beterbiev. You can see the head snap back.
Within just 1 week of one another, the two Russians competed for their first world honors. Beterbiev picked up the vacant IBF championship against Enrico Curling with a dominant display from start to finish to force a 12th round knockout.
Professional, and down goes Poling, and that's it. He will still not have to listen to the cards.
And Bivol, just 7 days earlier, picked up the WBA championship against Trent Broadhurst with a swift right hand in the first round.
Distance. Oh, and a beautiful right hand lays Trent Broadhurst out.
Although Bivol didn't officially attain full champion status with the WBA until 2019, the victory against Broadhurst effectively established him as the organization's newest and most deserving title holder.
You've got the WBA belt, but do you believe that you are the best light heavyweight in the world?
Every good boxer must think about himself that he's the best of the world, but we will see who will be better.
Given their extraordinary potential, becoming world champions was the very least expected of them. And soon the desire to break into the mythical pound-for-pound rankings and spread their dominance against other high-value opponents became the paramount objective.
Light heavyweight champion of the world!
Artur Beterbiev, after making a successful defense against the hard-punching Callum Johnson, signed with the promotional powerhouse Top Rank. And with the influential Bob Arum now guiding his career, it took just one quick knockout victory over Radovoje Kalajic for the Hall of Fame promoter to present him with a unification opportunity against the highly regarded Alexander Gvozdyk.
Boston really going for it now.
Another combination, and now Stevenson is hurt. Stevenson in big trouble. Gvozdyk a right hand. Stevenson is down.
12 months prior, the Ukrainian bagged a colossal scalp by dethroning long-reigning WBC and lineal light heavyweight champion Adonis Stevenson. Stevenson, who held the title dominantly for 5 years, served as the only resistance against the invading force of Sergei Kovalev in the previous era. And a dramatic knockout victory over him positioned Gvozdyk as the only legitimate threat to the aspirations of both Beterbiev and Bivol.
Gvozdyk and Beterbiev, round number 1.
The two had already shared the ring in the amateur ranks, with Beterbiev's power securing a second-round stoppage victory. But in this unification showdown, where the Ukrainian had already toppled an established champion, Gvozdyk opened as the slight betting favorite.
Comes back with a right hand of his own and lands a big right hand, and Gvozdyk ties up for a moment.
However, the Russian's aggression and power punching over the course of 10 closely contested rounds eventually forced the brave opponent to capitulate and forfeit his lead on 2 of the judges' scorecards.
That's it! It's over! Artur Beterbiev is the unified light heavyweight champion of the world!
It was a fantastic clash of styles, with Beterbiev's controlled aggression and technical prowess prevailing over a skilled boxer-puncher. And the victory not only awarded Beterbiev the WBC title to add to his IBF, but also the lineal status to solidify his claim as the new leader of the division.
So, speaking of, Bivol has a title, Kovalev and Canelo fight. Who do you want to fight next?
Doesn't matter. Anyone. I'm focused for title.
With by far the most valuable scalp, Beterbiev's handlers wasted little time in targeting other notable names.
And again, to Marcus Brown's credit,
Subsequent victories over mandatory challengers in Adam Dinas and Marcus Brown put the unified champion on a 6-fight run of successful stoppage defenses. And to match his ruthlessly efficient approach in the ring, his promotional team gave him access to another world title holder from within their stable. The humble blue-collared New Yorker may not have boasted the undefeated record of Beterbiev's previous unification opponent, but he did possess a raw, spirited attitude to power punch his way through legends and high-caliber opponents to pick up the WBO world title just 2 fights prior.
Protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves. Good luck.
But at the iconic Madison Square Garden in New York, he was facing an unquenchable threat. One that, even with the advantage of home support, could not be deterred.
Pick up the pace as and that right there is a knockdown.
A total of 3 knockdowns ensued in the space of 2 short rounds, as the referee intervened in the final assault to prevent unnecessary punishment.
Big right hand uppercut, right uppercut. That one has Joe Smith hurt. It is over.
3 out of the 4 major world titles were now in the possession of a man who many considered to be the most dangerous combatant in all of sports.
Listen, the guy is what he is.
He's the Terminator. That's what he is.
A month before Beterbiev's 3-belt unification, Dmitry Bivol secured a very different, less tangible prize. Despite initially lacking the same upward trajectory as his rival, patience and strategic positioning eventually granted him the ideal opportunity to bridge the gap. In his first WBA title defense, Bivol faced the respectable Sullivan Barrera, previously defeated only by the brilliant Andre Ward. While the Cuban was considered Bivol's toughest challenge to date, the Russian showcased his trademark fluid combinations and high work rate to finally punctuate his performance with a precise right hand in the 12th round. A successful points decision thereafter against Isaac Chilemba was then followed by another gradual step in competition against the former WBC world champion, Jean Pascal, where a lopsided points victory further demonstrated the Russian's increasing efficiency as a mid to long-range boxer.
And still, WBA!
An opportunity to display those same skills again, this time against a more lively challenger in Joe Smith Jr., came just a few months later. The fight took place 3 years before Beterbiev's triumph over the same opponent, and without the extra world title that Joe Smith was yet to capture, Bivol secured a wide points victory that's often forgotten and undervalued.
He really burns a lot of gas in the 11th, and now Bivol has him hurt. Hard right hand. Smith has never been down. Bivol on the attack, but it's over. Wow, what a way to finish.
By the closing months of 2019, a divergence in fan perception of the 2 rivals was beginning to foster. Where Beterbiev had just eliminated their most threatening opponent to further enhance his reputation as a must-see knockout artist, Bivol completed another routine points win, making it 4 consecutive fights without securing a stoppage.
And still, the undefeated WBA light heavyweight champion of the world.
Despite showcasing his technical wizardry in these bouts, there was a growing sense that due to the significant skill gap between him and his opponents, additional effort was needed to make his performances stand out.
The pressure is all on Bivol to look good. Good right hand there from Bivol.
Bivol, Castillo's legs just...
2 more points decisions against Craig Richards and Umar Salamov further reinforced the belief that the WBA champion's commitment to delivering a boxing masterclass took precedence over entertainment.
Right hand over the top there again from Bivol, and he's just ratcheting it up in this second round, Matt. He's raising the temperature.
But ultimately, boxing is a deeply insightful sport in which its proponents would argue intelligence, above all else, is the most important tool in a fighter's arsenal. And it's this principle which Dmitry Bivol understood all too well when he was finally granted his career-enhancing opportunity. In the summer of 2022, a different type of threat was encroaching the light heavyweight division.
Hovland's hurt! Hovland's down! Hovland's down!
Saul Canelo Alvarez, after conquering the super middleweights, was basking in an aura of invincibility and set his sights on Dmitry Bivol's WBA world title as his first port of call in unifying another division. This presumptuous demeanor seemed to be echoed by the many boxing observers, mainly non-European, who believed that out of the two leading champions at 175 pounds, Bivol was the easier target. But the remaining contingent who paid attention to Bivol's career were instead acutely aware of his outstanding ability to nullify a variety of boxing styles from long range. Not since his blockbuster showdowns with Gennady Golovkin has Canelo Alvarez shared the ring with such an elite-level foe. And over the course of 12 puzzling rounds, the Mexican failed to match the Russian's expert distance control, free-flowing combinations, and unshakable confidence. All three judges reached a unanimous decision, as boxing's pound-for-pound king experienced his first official loss in almost 10 years. And for Dmitry Bivol, it was a result more impactful than the three-belt unification that Beterbiev achieved just a month later.
He has done it! Not many believed in him! He believed in himself! Pulled off the performance of the lifetime!
Up until this point, boxing fans understood two unavoidable issues that can delay a highly anticipated matchup. The first being the need to let a rivalry marinate, and the second being the promotional differences that often misalign the objectives of both parties.
I think there's too many. I think between the Man through the BBC, with the Canelo rematch, I think
even
we're looking
different
at next
broadcasters.
Year. Different broadcasters.
Bob Arum hates Eddie Hearn.
And see, here's the thing.
But with Beterbiev wiping out every other title holder, and Bivol evicting Canelo's hopes of participating in the division, demands for an undisputed showdown began intensifying.
I don't want it. It's got to be now. Like, I don't want a 39-year-old or even a 40-year-old taking on a Bivol. This is an undisputed fight. Let's make it this year. Like, I don't really care about the belts because we know who number 1 and 2 are, and it's these two.
As the occupant of 3 of the 4 major world titles, mandatory obligations weighed heavier on Artur Beterbiev, and in January of 2023, his latest offense came against the popular Briton Anthony Yarde, who was now making a second bold attempt at world title glory.
Once again, he faces a dominant and dangerous world champion. 45.
At just 31 years of age, and with very few miles on the clock, the talented puncher harnessed every bit of his youthful energy to test the endurance of the 38-year-old veteran.
That wasn't a bad shot at all. Look, and again, so Beterbiev coming over that.
But the emotionless Beterbiev once again took matters into his own hands as he invited the Londoner into a deep, punishing terrain of violent exchanges and short, head-snapping punches.
That jab.
The intervention of Yarde's corner team brought a halt to the impending punishment, but their daring attempts to upset the odds gave a small glimmer of hope to the next challenger looking for a chink in the Russian's armor.
174.6 for the challenger, Callum Mundo Smith.
As a former world champion at super middleweight and the winner of the inaugural World Boxing Super Series in 2018, Callum Smith brought with him an added dose of experience that Anthony Yarde was perhaps lacking. But if the Liverpudlian assumed he too could put a dent in the aging Russian, he was gravely mistaken.
Throw that right hand, decent looking jab, and then he got caught high on the head by the right hand. He's in trouble here. Another right.
The remorseless Beterbiev cut through the defenses of the former Ring Magazine champion, forcing another group of terror-stricken cornermen to throw in the towel. It was a frightening performance, whereby even the promoter of Dmitry Bivol was confronted with a concerning reality that something truly special would be required to halt the spiteful Russian.
Like, you're fighting a guy that's not human, you know, he's not breathing. Every shot hurts, even in the clinches you see how strong he is. I'm not sure I've seen anything like it before, really. It's like it's not right, it's just like, it's an unfair advantage.
But for every occasion that Beterbiev morphed into an increasingly destructive machine, Dmitry Bivol continued enhancing his reputation as one of the most sublimely skilled operators in the pound-for-pound rankings.
Oh, Bivol with a nice crisp right hand.
Following the high-profile win over Canelo Alvarez, the WBA champion made a defense against another Mexican, in Gilberto Ramirez, whose 44-fight undefeated record and 5-fight knockout streak could do nothing to thwart Bivol's excellent jab, smooth footwork, and impeccable timing.
Bivol, a nice counter-punching. Oh boy! 2 or 3 big, heavy punches.
This lopsided points decision, alongside his signature win over Canelo, deservedly made Bivol the coveted Ring Magazine's 2022 Fighter of the Year, and strengthened his argument for being the best fighter in the 175-pound division.
It's pretty obvious. Dmitry Bivol's about legacy and about belts, and he wants to become undisputed. That is his absolute main focus.
In an era where elite fighters are no longer content with being mere title holders, there's a certain glamour to becoming an undisputed champion. And where the goal of unifying world titles had challenging hurdles to overcome, the emergence of Saudi Arabia and its commitment to facilitating top-tier matchups have made clashes such as Beterbiev versus Bivol locked-on realities.
As fans, you're starting to get what you want. You know, at times that's not been the case. It's brilliant.
A genuine 50-50 matchup between two fighters at the pinnacle of their careers, with each possessing the stylistic qualities needed to neutralize the strengths of the other.
Comes out, and this fight is over. Beterbiev retains his title.
The immensely intimidating Beterbiev, with bone-crunching power in both hands, has blazed through a competitive division with ruthless efficiency.
Big exchange. Oh! He gets him again! Another clubbing shot!
Although his perfect record of 20 fights and 20 knockouts may suggest he's the obvious favorite for this enthralling bout, it's important for viewers to recognize that his success isn't solely attributed to brute force.
Right hand comes in again, then a short left hand on the inside. Vosnik is hurt. Vosnik goes down.
His outstanding amateur pedigree has helped harness an extremely skillful and intelligent defense, whereby a calculated jab, deceptively quick footwork, and impeccable punching technique have made him a finely tuned predator, from which even the most skilled of light heavyweights are unable to escape.
Championship rounds, short left hand, he goes down again!
It's precisely for this reason that the upcoming October 12th showdown is a must-see attraction, because only in Bivol will audiences find the advanced boxing intellect to tame such a destructive force.
No question, Roy, his mobility without wasting movement to play defense with his legs and get distance with his legs is very impressive.
His sublime combination punching, agile footwork, and an ingenious ability to control the distance will confront Beterbiev with quality not experienced since his legendary encounters with Alexander Usyk almost 15 years prior.
Yeah, he looks for that big left hook.
But if Bivol is to succeed, a mere evasive strategy will not be enough. Beterbiev's commanding presence, as well as his mastery of pulling opponents into unwanted close-quarter exchanges, means Bivol must sit down on his punches and make Beterbiev respect his power.
This fight will be won by smallest margins. There'll be the small mistake by one or the other.
It's an incredibly dangerous proposition, making this the ultimate test of skill versus power, where strategy meets brute strength in a clash that will create history's first ever 4-belt undisputed light heavyweight champion.